It's time to begin. It's on the Rewind Around with John Pollock and Wai Ting. The A-Team that makes sense of these things we see in the ring every week on TV. It's Rewind Around for Monday night. Download it Tuesday morning from the Post Wrestling site. It's Rewind Around for Monday night on USA Now on the John and Wai Take the Mic.
Hello, everyone. It's John Pollock and Wai Ting. Another week begins at Post Wrestling. Are you ready for it, Wai?
Yeah, I think so. I think
okay.
I'm ready.
You could say no, and we just stop right here.
Will you give me more time? How much time am I granted to get ready for the week?
I'd just sit here. I'd wait with all the listeners, and you just take a walk, go for a few laps around the house, and whenever you come back, we'll just be waiting here until you're ready to start the week.
Sometimes you're kind of forced to wait for me. When I have any sort of technical issue, of course, but I'm ready this week.
Are you in full Toronto Blue Jays mode now based on your attire?
Oh, of course. Huge. Yeah. You don't know, I don't just wear clothes for the sake of wearing clothes, John. Everything I wear has to have some sort of meaning.
Ooh, right? I sense a little defensiveness in that response. I get the sense that you are feeling that I'm putting you on the spot.
I'm not the guy who's been concerned about sports this past week.
Have I been concerned about sports? I think I've been the opposite of concerned.
Been tweeting a lot about sports. I've seen.
I'm just pointing out what I'm watching.
How was the Leafs game last week?
It was awesome. It was great.
Did you watch the game? You watched the game?
Team that I thought was going to win won, and the team that was outplayed lost. It's like the hockey gods got that one right. So now it's off, and now we're doing the other fun part of a Toronto Maple Leaf spring is they've been eliminated. So let's blow the whole thing up every year without fail. Like, let's just blow this whole thing up. I love it.
What do you mean? What do you mean? They're just restarting the team? Like, what, they're getting rid of everybody?
Are they going to fire the GM? Because you got to blame someone. You got to pass all this blame. And there's nothing the city loves more than the intrigue of what are they going to, who's going to pay for this? Who's going to answer for my anger as a fan? Who is going to lose their job over this?
Wouldn't they want to keep most of this team? I mean, if they got the furthest they've gotten in these years, this
would be a dramatic increase over past years. It's their first playoff series win in 19 years, but that's not enough. It's not enough. They have ridiculous expectations.
Oh, okay. Well, hey.
So we'll do this again next year. Maybe they'll be out in the first round next year. So it'll just be a couple weeks earlier that we'll get to this. But anyway, there you have it. Let us go into, first, I want to mention that, because I will forget this later. Are you counting down the days until the Forbidden Pour?
Of course I am. 40 days? 40 days? Am I right?
I think so. Give or take. Yes. June the 25th, Sunday, at a Real Sports Bar in downtown Toronto. Get your tickets now. They are moving. They're continuing to move. We're seeing like anytime you get those notifications, it's just a nice little like pep in your step you get when you see these coming in. But they are Fast and Furious, not the movie, but the tickets are going out the window. You can secure your own at postwrestling.com/live. Come join us for the pre-show Q&A podcast with some of your favorite people in general that will be under one roof. And then go check out Forbidden Door and come right back after for the after party at Real Sports right across the street from the Scotiabank Arena. You could be coming out of the Scotiabank Arena. You'll be happy because it's not going to be a hockey game. It's going to be a wrestling show that you'll probably, your favorite might win. And then just make your way on up and check out the wrestling karaoke, wrestling themed drinks, and wrestling themed Braden Harrington.
As always, yes, the wrestling themed Braden Harrington. I mean, it'll be the place to be, honestly, before and after. If you're in the area, please, you have no excuse not to join us if you're listening to the show. It'll be a great time. We guarantee it.
Yes. Actually, we're going head to head, I think, with a progress show with the Fi.
I know. Yeah. So, I mean, do both,
you can't do both.
Well, I mean, if you're fast enough, I believe they're pretty close as well. So
if he was coming over, where Benno would choose to be. He'd be with us.
I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure. Is that so?
I'd put I put all my money on Benno choosing us.
Well, okay. Well, great.
Okay. Well, nonetheless, you can do it all. Maybe Hansi will go to the Progress show and then he'll tell us afterwards. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I meant to come to yours and I went to the wrong place.
Like
and
he did with what's the other show he was on? He went to Busted Open. He went to
That's right.
He chose the Busted Open
That's
live
okay.
show.
That's okay. I'm fine as long as we're in people's like top 5. I won't take top 10, but top 5. Top 5 you got to be in, or else you're out of the club.
That's fine. Yeah.
That is coming up Sunday, June the 25th. We'll go on. We'll talk about the shows coming up later on this week. We have a bunch of them, quite a lot coming up this week. But we will start off with the news, and this is it continues to be a very sad story, and unfortunately, it might be getting towards the end. And that is with superstar Billy Graham, who, from the latest update from his wife Valerie, is that he has been put on life support, and the doctors want to take him off of life support, and Valerie has denied them that option. So it is looking pretty dire for Wayne Coleman, aka Superstar Billy Graham, and this will be, somebody that certainly there will be the time and the place to look into the legacy of this individual, a huge influence on many giant individuals in the sport. He is also somebody that had, he was very much involved in all of the stuff of the early 90s and going out against Vince McMahon, against the company, put out some false accusations. Somebody that you can certainly talk at length about, but not really the time at this point. But there's not a whole lot to say other than, we are thinking of Valerie Coleman, who is somebody that has been, she has been with this individual her entire adult life. And when you look at what this man has gone through health-wise, career-wise, from this industry, she has been there riding shotgun for all of this. She has been through a tremendous amount in her life, being married to Billy Graham, and it's just got to be a devastating period for her as well.
Completely. Yeah, it's again incredibly sad because we're kind of like living through this in real time, and it's always difficult to hear about anybody who's a professional wrestling sort of a legend, somebody that we've spoken to and has have enjoyed the work of go through this. So yeah, our thoughts are with her.
The upfront presentations are going on this week. Today, NBC Universal and Fox held their presentations, although not a whole lot to report wrestling-wise from the involvement of WWE, other than a couple of mentions here or there, which I don't think you can really read anything into. The big one is Wednesday with Warner Brothers Discovery and the fact we know that we are getting the big announcement from AEW. The question becomes how many announcements they are making and what the specifics are. There's a lot of reporting out there. I think everyone understands at minimum you're getting the Saturday night show. The latest report from Wade Keller at the Pro Wrestling Torch is expecting that the announcements this week will be a new Saturday 2-hour primetime program called Collision, a content agreement with the recently rebranded Max streaming service, and roughly $240 million in rights fees overall on an average over the course of a 5-year period. So if that turns out to be accurate, we're going from people speculating about a $1 billion deal to a $1.2 billion deal, give or take, whatever the amount is. A big question of that is a content agreement with Max. What would that entail? Would that be specials? Would that be uprooting your pay-per-view business onto Max? Would it be something like an all-in and we'd see more of those specials? That's a big question because that is certainly a big revenue generator for them. What would they be? That would certainly bump this up. And for the sake of Warner Brothers Discovery, once we're talking into the billions, like this is a transformative deal for AEW that we will likely be discussing come Wednesday.
Yeah, 5.5x increase if this report from Keller is true. I feel like that's over a lot of people's estimates on what they would be getting, and I think is really great for professional wrestling if that is the case. At that point, you no longer really, even at this point, I don't think you could really say, is there really a second competitor? Is there really a competitor to the WWE? The answer has been yes. And if this deal goes through, then the answer is more than just a yes. It's a firm establishing of a competitor to the WWE, and it's great for everybody. If so,
then becomes the second biggest wrestling company in history at this point. If we are looking at this deal, it is unchecked profitability for this company. It is a long-term commitment. It is, like, quite honestly, I think even the grandest skeptic, well, maybe I won't say the largest skeptic of AEW, but the moderate skeptic of AEW, this company was not going away. I think I think they're on enough solid ground that they were not going to go away here. But this was a major one for them to take that leap forward of, are they making money? Are they not making money? And this would take them, like, when we're going from 44 million to 240 million a year, in that range, like, that is just, it's another level of security, and most importantly for talent, of an undeniable option that you will always have when your deal comes due, that they will have the ability to go after major names and hopefully drive up the floor for a lot of these big performers.
I believe, like, Brandon on WrestleNomics this week said something to the effect of, he believes that AEW up until this point has been operating at a loss. And if a deal like this goes through, then you would hope that it means that the company is now actually profitable. And when the company is profitable, I mean, I don't think AEW was going to be going away, but certainly now this would mitigate any sort of reason for, I guess, significant cutback, and in fact will pave the way for expansion. That, you know, I mean, they already have quite the roster, but, you know, now they can pay potentially more competitive pricing for people that are even out of their reach, and who knows what else. So yeah.
And then it becomes like, what comes with this financial security, though, is your weekly output. Like, you have to produce all of this content, you have to keep your audience engaged, but that is going to be figured into all of this. Like, this is going to be a tremendous amount of product that both companies are putting out on a weekly basis, and then that becomes, you know, the next evolution of AEW is with the addition of the Saturday night program.
It's going to be a challenge to make all of it interesting, but the WWE has been able to make that work. You know, we might bitch a whole lot about these Mondays being 3 hours, but hey, they're still very successful at those 3 hours. They're successful producing 5 hours of, 7 hours of first run programming along with their pay-per-views. And if it shows you that there's an appetite, there's a appetite for professional wrestling, and maybe AEW can pull it off. Let's see.
Do you expect to see any AEW appearances at the Upfronts?
Well, what's really interesting is I actually just kind of Googled Warner Brothers Discovery, and I just found this Variety article that says that Warner Brothers Discovery asked talent not to appear in person at Upfronts amid writer's strike. Now, I don't know if that would include professional wrestlers or not, but it would be a little unusual maybe to not have any actors but professional wrestlers
there. Well, today at the NBCU Upfronts, they aired stuff that had been taped prior to the writers' strike. They had they just got around it it is this giant cloud that is over the Upfronts this week, where it is these extravagant presentations where they are courting advertiser dollars amid picket lines outside. And
so it's for the safety of the talent, I guess, is part of the reasoning.
Well, it's also, I mean, you're also running into where the Directors Guild and the Screen Actors Guild, I mean, they themselves could end up, joining the writers in several weeks.
So politically, to not put actors in an uncomfortable situation as well, I guess.
It's also very interesting that, and typically WWE would send talent to these, and I'm not aware of anyone appearing at the ones today, and it might be completely disconnected, but it was interesting that Nick Khan did not take some passive stance on the writers' strike recently on the investors call. Said they solidly support the writers. I mean, they took a public stance on that side of things,
even though they don't hire,
even though their writers are not part of the guild, even though their talent are not part of a Screen Actors Guild, but they are supporting the union.
Seems like
at least Nick Khan was publicly.
I guess it just seems like it's the politically fan-friendly thing to say.
Fan-friendly, but it was this is a company that does not typically take those kinds of public backings of sorts. But obviously WWE very pro-union. Yeah, obviously, clearly. Anyway, we will be talking about this a lot on Wednesday and on Friday. Brandon Thurston and I will be interviewing Tony Maglio, who is a reporter with IndieWire, and he is attending all of the upfronts. So he will be joining us on Friday, and we'll be doing a big dissection of the AEW deal. Now on Friday, I know what Wai was about to do all weekend. He was about to sit back and read his latest book. But then the WWE made a 550-page SEC filing, and Wai was like, boom, let's get this on my Kindle immediately. And Wai, you devoured this thing.
Oh, I put it up. I got ChatGPT to read it up for me, put it out on the big screen. Actually, I got ChatGPT to act it out for me using AI models.
Was it done in the voice of Vince McMahon? Because he was the one that apparently this guy was the straw stirring the drink of these negotiations. So we're going to read the first 300 pages.
Yeah. All right. Shall I get a coffee? Like, do we have time for it?
Siri, read us the SEC filing from Friday, please. There's actually a lot of interesting information in here. It's notable to me that this is not something. I know some MMA reporters have checked this out, but I haven't seen this really appearing on a whole lot of MMA sites, unless I'm like missing stuff. But there's a ton of financial information here of the breakdown of UFC over the years, what they're projecting with the merger. I've seen this just more
in general. Do you find like in the MMA sort of news space, there's as much sort of reporting on the business side of things?
There's some of it, like John Nash at Bloody Elbow, like he does a really great job. Paul Gift, like it's certainly like I don't even want to necessarily compare it with wrestling. Like it's not as though it's I think that there is more attention just because the biggest company in WWE has been publicly traded for so long that there is sort of that interest in things. And in MMA, there's definitely people that follow it, or the Kung Lee lawsuit, for instance. But when it comes to, Endeavor just recently going public, like I don't sense it's broken down in the same way, save for maybe a couple.
Okay.
But there's quite a lot you can glean from this, including a timeline about the merger process. And without going through all of it here, that they had 60 potential parties reach out to them when the transaction was just beginning. This was between January 17th and April 2nd. And of those 60, they signed confidentiality agreements with 20 of those parties. And then they reached an agreement with Endeavor to start the due diligence process in February. And initially, Endeavor submitted a non-binding indication of an agreement to merge with WWE, and it would be Endeavor holding 57% and WWE 43%. But wait a minute, it turned out to be Endeavor 51 and WWE 49. How did they get to those numbers? Well, it turned out that McMahon and Nick Khan, when they met with Endeavor, they presented a term sheet for a 51-49 split. And Endeavor said, well, the only way we're going to give up those 6 percentage points, Vince, you've got to stay. You can't leave. You can't leave us with this company without your guidance. So Vince McMahon said, all right, we'll take more board seats. We'll take a couple more percentage points and I'll stick around. So it very much sounds as the way Ari Emanuel laid it out in this interview on CNBC, that Vince McMahon was a significant part of this deal, to the point that they were willing to negotiate like points in the company towards WWE. Endeavor still has the majority, but it's more board seats. It's 5 out of the 11 board seats are given to the WWE side. And WrestleNomics, they talked about this as well. The idea of, would it be difficult to manage this company with Vince McMahon still having, shares in the company, and could be someone that could cause a lot of problems on the outside versus having him in the inside of this company and on board with us.
That is incredibly interesting. Like those sort of like the fact that the fact that Vince being inside is somehow a strategic play to, like the lesser of two evils, essentially, is a very interesting concept. I guess upon hearing this sort of headline and this sort of I guess play, your first instinct is this genuine? Is there authentic sentiment for Ari Emanuel to feel like Vince McMahon is an integral part of the business, or is it just to keep him? Like, are we just being cynical, sort of like longtime Vince McMahon followers, to think that there's no way this guy could possibly bring any sort of positive there's no real justification for a guy like Ari Emanuel to want Vince McMahon to actually be a part of this company? Are we being too cynical, or what? What do you think?
Is Vince McMahon Jared Mencken, or is he Madsen? Who is Vince McMahon in this whole thing?
I feel like he's a bit of both. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't want to get knee deep into succession comparisons, but could you see Logan, or could you see Madsen wanting to keep Logan Roy on board, rather than having him be outside while still maintaining shares?
It's a good question. I could see that.
Oh yeah, I could see it too. I mean, again, are we being on the pessimistic side when it comes to?
Listen, the fact is, Vince McMahon was not going to be just absolved from this company. I mean, he was still going to have significant shares in this company, and Disney just went through this with one of their shareholders. If you want to look the story up, this activist shareholder by the name of Nelson Peltz, who just made life horrible for Disney shareholders and demanding changes, and he had a major voice in all of this, and it required Bob Iger eventually going public earlier this year that we're going to slash $5.5 billion in costs, and that shut this guy up essentially. Right. And this is just publicity you don't want. And if you're looking at this and you're kicking the tires on WWE, believe me, Ari Emanuel and all those involved in this deal, they're going through with a fine-tooth comb about Vince's whole navigation back into power. And this is a guy that look how he got his way back. And he was literally told, the board believes this is not the right time for you to come back. Oh yeah? Wouldn't it be a shame if these TV deals don't get approved because I hold all the power here? Do we really want this guy to be on the outside and creating havoc for us? And maybe as well, Ari Emanuel as well, he's not meeting Vince McMahon for the first time. This is someone he's had a 20+ year relationship with, going back to when they left USA the first time. He might very well look at the playbook of the UFC and Dana White, and they want to replicate it, and Dana and Vince are equals.
I suppose it's just the fact that all of this is coming out at the same time. The fact that it's a jump from 43% to 49% plus Vince McMahon being a bargaining chip. Would a 49% increase not have been enough? Or on the other hand, would a Vince McMahon being a part of the deal not be enough for their shares to be kept at 43%? The fact that both of them are in tandem, and in fact, Vince coming in it's being portrayed that Vince coming in is a reason for the exchange for a 49% share is interesting, at least, and definitely makes you think. My other question is, these are SEC filings, so they have to be truthful, right? In the court of law.
I don't think you would be posting fraudulent information to the SEC, because that is inviting a lot more problems.
So again, should we be as skeptical? Or, I mean, obviously you could still game it, but to what extent? And will anything like this be investigated further if there is cause for dispute, or,
I don't think there's a whole lot to dispute here, in the sense that, I mean, the question I would have is that when they were negotiating and Endeavor put in their indication of an agreement for a 57-43 split between February 7th and March 22nd, when the counter was made, were they operating under the assumption that Vince would be walking away? What prompts them to come back with this 51-49 offer, and their rebuttal is, fine, we will meet you, but that means, Vince, you have to stay? Were they under the impression for these 6 weeks that Vince is not coming? Why would you be asking Vince to stay if that was already assumed?
I think it's a really interesting question. And I do think we have to put it out there that maybe Ari Emanuel actually wants Vince McMahon.
I think he genuinely wanted Vince McMahon in. I don't think he's playing theater here. I mean, there could be, other strategic reasons for it, but I think somebody that has, he has always publicly praised Vince McMahon, and this goes well before any talks of an alliance. But it's an interesting just kind of thought exercise here of how Vince McMahon navigated through this period up until the sale. But there were others listed here. Essentially, it came down to there was a listing of strategic partner one, which has kind of been deduced as Liberty Media involved here, and then two other bidders who decided that neither wished to be the lead investor in an acquisition. And the final decision was made on April the 1st. WWE saw the Endeavor deal as a fair one, and the deal was finalized the next day, which was the second night of WrestleMania. And that's the day that Alex Sherman reported it. And Monday morning, it is announced as trading begins. Actually, before several hours before trading began on April the 3rd. On top of that, two class action lawsuits one against Vince McMahon, one against McMahon and the company, alleging that McMahon breached fiduciary responsibilities to use his majority voting power to change company bylaws and reinsert himself as executive chairman. They have been settled, and McMahon has agreed to pay the plaintiffs' counsel $1.65 million. And the bylaws have since been repealed because Vince McMahon he's doing fine, regardless of what the bylaws state. So those lawsuits are out. And maybe in his later years, Vince McMahon is realizing that settling is maybe the way to just make things go away. Maybe he's learning how money can work and you can make problems disappear.
I mean, doesn't it just reinforce the reason why he was in all this trouble in the first place? Putting money into something to make it go away? Yeah,
but these were he reported these. So this is not off book expenses. You just gotta report them to the right people. That's the lesson to learn over the past year.
Hey, over at WrestleNomics.com, Brandon has a really good, easily digestible timeline of this entire SEC filing for those of you who don't have the time to sit through the 500, 300 pages. And if you just want a bit more detail, so highly recommend that, WrestleNomics.com.
Best of the Super Juniors. Somehow I watched 30 matches this weekend. I'm all up to date on this Best of the Super Juniors tournament, and it's been
clearly
been a very good tournament.
Clearly a Mother's Day tradition in your household.
That's right. Well, when I offered to get up early, I actually ended up getting up early 3 days in a row, like at 5:30, and that's how my days began. So I'm not going to go through all of the shows, but some of the stories going on throughout. So on the A block side, we have Lio Rush, who's having an awesome tournament. Speedball Mike Bailey, who's had some very good matches, and Taiji Ishimori are 3-0 in the A block with 6 points each. Lio Rush, his first two matches were sprints, one with Sho and one with Taguchi. And he had these outstanding 5-minute matches and then had his big match with Hiromu Takahashi on Sunday, avenging his loss from March and pinning the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion with the final hour. So he's already got off to a 3-0 start. He's pinned the champion. I don't know if he needs to win or even go to the finals at this point. He's sort of got... I'm sure he's gonna pile on some more points, but already pinning Hiromu, it does set him up for a rematch coming out of this. But this guy is tremendous and cut a really great promo going into the Hiromu match as well. Just 5 guys, they got off to a big start as well. Ishimori at 3-0. Kanemaru won his first 2 matches using the ankle lock, and then it was Kevin Knight upsetting him on the third show and escaping the ankle lock. You wouldn't believe it, but the House of Torture has been infuriating. Sho, in his last match, he told Ryusuke Taguchi, if you are serious, then I too will be serious. And the whole crowd was like, ooh, he's going to be serious. And he revealed a New Japan shirt, and he started wrestling as Sho Tanaka instead of Sho, awful member of House of Torture. But then the lights go out, and there was evil. It was all a ploy, and they used the wrench, and then he cuts up the shirt with scissors, and Sho gets the win. So they're at least teasing now the idea of him eventually going back to leaving the dark side of evil. And because the House of Torture, they have really become almost like your job squad level in New Japan. Like they're undercard, so it's hardly as offensive as before where they were all over the main event scene. But it is really time for Sho to get out of this group, and they're at least teasing it. Kushida is having a losing streak to start off. Him and Bushi and Taguchi have all lost their first 3 matches, and Kushida is starting these kind of heel tendencies in these losses, and I guess teasing like a certain direction for Kushida, who will probably have a big comeback midway through this. And I would say the best matches that I've seen so far, Hiromu and Lio Rush from Sunday, Francesco Akira and Robbie Eagles had a tremendous match on Sunday that went about 14 minutes. Speedball and TJP was also, the Sunday show was probably the strongest. Doki has been having a very good tournament using all of his kind of Mexican submissions and just the guys he's been working with. I think Ishimori was the best of the 3. And then Hiromu and Speedball was at the level you would expect from Friday. So, and I would say the undiscovered talent so far was TJP on commentary with Kevin Kelly. He jumped in, he wrestled early, and then he came back. Kevin, I need to join you on commentary.
Oh, contraire, mon frere.
Au contraire, mon frere. Dude, he was really good with Kevin Kelly. Like, just great, like, analysis. He went through the guys that have kicked him the hardest in his career, with surprisingly Katsuhiko Nakajima being the hardest, and Speedball Mike Bailey among those top 3. But the best line was Chris Charlton explained. Dan Maloney used to be in NXT UK, and he's gotten into phenomenal shape for since then and coming into this tournament. And Charlton was talking about when he left a big promotion and kind of having imposter syndrome and trying to get his groove back. And Kevin Kelly is just like, man, I got to tell you, all these guys that leave WWE, it's amazing when you hear about the mental gymnastics of working in that place. You'd think they just got out of prison. Like, it's just great. And he's right. It's like these guys who have to like pretty much like rehabilitate themselves after the traumatic experience of going to WWE. It's just,
but hey, not everybody leaves. A lot of people stay.
Hey, a lot do, but it's just some of these
but
stories.
If you leave, clearly you have a reason for leaving.
Well, especially, if you're cut or just, forgotten about in WWE. So there you go. Those are we're 3 matches in, and now they have the craziest stretch because there are cards Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 10 matches on each show. I think this is where I will probably fall behind at this point, but it's been a good run of 3 shows so far. But this is a compact tournament. It ends on the 28th, and Tuesday's matches include Desperado and Yo, Kushida against Taiji Ishimori, Master Wato against Dan Maloney, Teton against Speedball, Yoshinobu Kanemaru and Robbie Eagles, Lio Rush against Doki, Francesco Akira against Clark Connors, Sho against TJP, Kevin Knight, who's been looking very good, against Bushi, and Hiromu Takahashi against Ryusuke Taguchi. So I would say, like, it's a really well dispersed tournament. It's like you are getting, I would say, a pretty high level across the board. It's tons of different styles, and you're just into like what, this guy, how he's going to work this match with that guy. And it's just a really loaded tournament. So anyway, that's what's going on in New Japan.
Should we be staying up till 5:30?
No, I definitely will not be. Okay. And NXT on Tuesday has Cora Jade against Fallon Henley in the quarterfinals of the women's tournament. Roxanne Perez against JC Jane. The Dyad against the Creeds. How many times are we going to watch the Dyad lose from now until October? What would you say?
Maybe it's a work, John. Maybe they're winning the titles. Maybe it's all.
What are the odds that Kevin Kelly is going to be talking about the mental gymnastics about the Dyad within the next 13 months?
I think they'd be a pretty great fit in New Japan, actually. So it's a good chance.
The grizzled old vets.
At this point, maybe. Yeah.
Wesley and Tyler Bate against Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey, and the main event, the Supernova Sessions, hosted by Noam Dar with guest Dragon Lee. And then Dynamite on Wednesday, our last item here. Chris Jericho against Roderick Strong, Falls Count Anywhere, with the JAS and Adam Cole banned from the building. Ricky Starks against Jay White. The Outcasts against Hayter, Baker, and Hikaru Shida. Roosh against Jack Perry. Sammy Guevara in action, and Don Callis will speak after his turn on one Kenny Omega. And the latest.
Do we know if there's a significant sports competition this week?
They are going against the NBA. It's the Miami series, I believe. That the Miami-Boston series is happening on Wednesday night. So they will be going against the NBA, which WWE avoided tonight. There was no NBA. They did have game 7 of the Dallas-Seattle series that they were going against, but no NBA. But Rampage, I always like our weekly Rampage updates. So this Friday, 6:30 p.m., and then next weekend, right before Double or Nothing, it will be airing Saturday night at midnight, followed by the countdown to Double or Nothing at 1 a.m., late Saturday, early Sunday morning in a 30-minute time slot. Nothing better to get ready for the pay-per-view than your 1 a.m. countdown show and Rampage. This was going to be originally live in Las Vegas on Friday night, and then they quickly announced it would not be taking place, and they're just going to tape it on the Wednesday in Vegas.
I mean, you can't even set your DVR if you wanted to with some of these changes.
Oh, it's all over the place. Like, and that does become a question of, like, Saturday nights. Like, will Collision have to go through this treatment next year?
I have to think so. If it's on TNT,
yep.
I'm at this time of year. I have to think so. But I mean, then again, are some of these time slots coming after sports programming?
No, not a whole lot of them. I don't know about. Well, Friday, this Friday, it's at 6:30, so it's before everything starts.
Right.
Next Saturday, I don't know what the schedule is. It might not even be finalized yet. I don't know if it'll be coming right after a playoff game. But yeah, it's wreaking havoc on Rampage's schedule. But Raw did not have any of those problems. So they were against the Dallas Stars and Seattle Kraken. Do you think that there were a lot of Dallas Stars fans that were missing Raw tonight? Or do you feel that Raw is going to be just fine without the hockey fans?
I think Raw should be fine. Yeah.
They were at the historic Greensboro Coliseum, the site of the first 4 Starrcade events, which actually would be brought up by Cody Rhodes, and then tried his best to transition it to a Brock Lesnar call out. Brock disrespecting the Greensboro Coliseum by not showing up this week. Total disrespect.
Yeah, I'm sure that was his intent.
Yeah, F Starrcade. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn come out. So Owens and Zayn, they are going to be on every show from now until eternity. Okay, that is their role post-draft.
While they're currently champions and involved in what might be might be the main event in Saudi Arabia, if not certainly a semi-main event, I definitely could see that.
Well, we learned how you get around the draft, a visitor's pass.
Oh, beat the wild card, a visitor's
pass. Why didn't they think of that earlier? A visitor's pass for Paul Heyman, who is drafted to SmackDown, and he is not one of the tag champions, right?
I don't believe so, no. Okay. Nor the Raw Women's Champion.
I don't think he is either. No, he was able to get in, though. Owens and Zayn come out, and they were as surprised as everyone else that they're defending their titles at Night of Champions. Yes, it caught many people off guard. And then Sami explained all of the world politics and why he's not been on the Saudi Arabia shows 2018 onward, got into all the nitty gritty.
We haven't had your thoughts on that yet.
I mean, I would want to know what their thoughts are on it and what exactly. I mean, it would coincide with, I guess, relations improving within. It would seem to me, though, it would obviously, because the understanding had been like, it was one of those things where Sami was not welcomed on these shows and he wasn't exactly beating down the door to get onto these shows. So obviously something has changed. And I would imagine this was not something that just came out of the blue, out of nowhere either as well. But I mean, they're going over, they're doing the show. Owens did the Greatest Royal Rumble, which was the first show of this 10-year deal. But then that was the show Sami was not on. Right. And he never went back to another one.
And Sami did a house show.
Before the 10-year deal, because they had gone there, I think, 2014 and had been on there as well. So they are defending the tag titles at Night of Champions, and they look at it as a gift to get revenge on Roman Reigns, and both should have beat him earlier this year. And they wanted the bloodline to crumble, but it turns out Roman's doing a great job of doing that himself. So the Judgment Day come out. Owens cuts off their music. He doesn't even want to hear them speak. He just wants to fight. And Zayn says, well, let's hear them out. Priest says, yeah, we want to fight. And Balor calms him down and says that you guys were done with the bloodline. Now you're right back to where you started. And there's going to be a long line of teams if you retain those belts. I would love to see this long line of teams that they are amassing as challengers. I guess Massey and Mansoor.
You saw some of them in the Battle Royal, I'm sure. The Viking
we
Raiders.
did see them. I mean, they do have a lot of teams. They just don't quite have anyone ready for the tag titles, but they
Mhm.
could make a physical line. Rhea Ripley was so popular on this show. I mean, the crowd loves her. Chants of mommy. And Zayn wants to hear from Dominik, and the crowd drowns him out, which now all the audiences are copying one another. And it's great heat for Dominik as he just plays it up and tries to get his sentence in and milks it really well. Owens goes to punch when Ripley stands in his way, and then a fight breaks out, including Ripley nailing Owens and Zayn chasing everyone off with a chair. And later on, this would be made our main event that would eat up the last half hour of the show.
Yeah. There were several chapters to the main event, as we will discuss, but this was interesting. Already building to a title program here with Judgment Day and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, so it really does kind of telegraph the outcome of Night of Champions, because you would expect Judgment Day to face off against a babyface tag team rather than Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. Now, does it matter? I think as long as the story is well told, I don't really care. So, and I would hate for them to swerve us somehow, but it does look like we're getting towards the direction of Judgment Day versus Sami and KO, which is perfectly fine. And I thought Sami's promo was good here. He came out very fired up and basically kind of told you that this was going to be a continuation of the story that he already started and didn't necessarily satisfy with the Elimination Chamber match. So I think it's a smart way of carrying on that incredible momentum that was there before. That certainly isn't right now.
Shinsuke Nakamura against The Miz. They had a 10-minute match, and they go to the commercial break, and they have a spot for all the upcoming house shows. And I guess this is working because, their house show business has been doing well. But it features a collection of sound bites from Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and Liv Morgan looking into the camera and asking, "Where are you at?"
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah.
Where are you at?
Yeah.
I mean, Billy Red Lions, there would be no need for him in this day and age. I mean, when Randy Savage could have just looked into the camera for all those market-specific promos.
Savage saying, "Where are you at?" I guarantee it would be pretty.
It would be pretty good. Okay. But you'd have to do like 60 of them every week for all the markets.
Yeah.
That would get a little tiring.
This comes across as maybe, some poor maybe marketing campaign manager's idea, and then just maybe quickly communicate it to these very busy wrestlers to just say, "Hey, can you get on camera? Can you say where are you at?" And unfortunately, I mean, the result is what it is.
Yeah. And the answer for one is at home injured.
For now, yeah, at least it looks like.
We come back. There's an O'Connor roll by Miz, and that's turned into an armbar. He clasps the hands and stacks Nakamura before a DDT, and then Miz goes for the world famous it kicks.
Mm-hmm.
All these years, these are to kicks what Shane McMahon was to punches.
To be honest, though, Miz at least is a heel. Shane, while he was delivering those punches many times, was the babyface and also being promoted as the best in the world. So I could forgive the it kicks.
Wow, I'm just saying, if Miz hit a heavy bag with these kicks, the bag would get a 10-9 round, guaranteed.
Well, there's an MMA fight I want to see.
Miz versus a heavy bag?
Well, Miz versus Shane, but that too, sure.
Kinshasa attempt is made, but Miz dives for the apron, and Nakamura pulls him and gets poked in the eyes, and a skull-crushing finale, but Nakamura gets his foot on the rope and then hits the Kinshasa in 10 minutes. So Nakamura wins, and a statement victory on Raw. Statement.
What's that statement? I'm in the mid-card.
Camera.
That's the statement?
Yes. Come on.
Yeah. I think this was a good WWE style match, and that's certainly what I expect from The Miz. He's sort of the poster child for a WWE style match, but I think that's what Nakamura has become as well. Like his matches, I think very rarely offer anything all that surprising these days. That goes for any even like pay-per-view level match that he's had in the past. He's become, I would say, pretty conservative, but effective. Like this Raw kind of like refresh has given him a bit of added, a fresh coat of paint, so to speak, and it's got the audience on his side as just a straight up babyface again. But I would say these matches are like serviceable, but I wouldn't say that any of them are all that memorable. But it's fine. He's getting up there in age. He's learning to work a style that can maintain his longevity. So it's more so about the push and about the storytelling. And right now, I think they're doing a decent job with Nakamura's re-debut.
My analysis of this match and how I break it down is that since Thursday, I have watched 30 matches in the Best of the Super Juniors, and then I watched Dream Slam 2 from 1993. That's my analysis of this match between Shinsuke Nakamura and The Miz.
Do not watch Dream Slam 2 before you watch Raw. It'll make it hard.
Yes. That's where I'm not giving Miz the out as a heel with these kicks after what I saw.
Dream Slam 2 is a great show, and we'll be talking about it this Thursday on Rewind Away with Karen Peterson joining us for the entire review. So I'm very much looking forward to that chat. You can find it on YouTube if you look. It's a great show.
If I had been more aware of the international scene when I was 9 years old and Dream Slam 1 and 2 were airing in Japan, and I had a computer that could gain me access, what would I need to track down? If I just said to my mythical system, give me Akira Hokuto in 1993, what could connect me to this great wrestling?
I think you'd be looking for some form of tape trading, John, first of all. But obviously, if you had technology on your side, if you had a time machine, maybe a better alternative to tape trading would be NordVPN, the tape trader of our times, really. NordVPN, our thanks to sponsor of the show, Nord, of course. You know about the financial benefits of using a VPN. I use one to sign up for subscriptions only accessible in certain parts of the world at lower rates, only accessible to certain parts of the world as well.
We get nothing in Canada. We gotta get our shovels out and dig.
And we have a terrible dollar, and yet we get American pricing on a lot of these things. You know about the benefits of being able to access geo-blocked content, the ability to sign up for services you can't in your country, like AEW Plus for me. But perhaps the most valuable reason for getting a VPN is to protect your online privacy, John. Who knows where you might be watching Dream Slam 2 from, okay?
What are all these pop-ups?
Yeah, exactly. If you do any sort of downloading of content, if you use any sort of public Wi-Fi at a place other than your home, or if you have any concerns about unwanted tracking from advertisers, ISPs, phishing sites, and hackers, a trusted VPN helps mask your IP to protect your browsing. And NordVPN is one of the most established and reputable VPN providers in the world. Over 5,000 servers from around the world. Nord has doubled down on keeping you safe with their new threat protection software. So even if you download an infected file containing Dream Slam 2, threat protection kicks in and deletes it before it makes a mess of your computer so you can watch guilt-free. Sign up through nordvpn.com/postwrestling, where post listeners can receive a discount on all plans, plus their current offer, 4 extra months on top of all 2-year subscriptions, or 3 extra months on top of all 1-year subs. That basically comes down to $3.17 US a month for a 28-month plan. Nord also offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't like it within a month, tell them you want your money back, and that is it. Again, nordvpn.com/postwrestling. Let them know you found out about them through us. Our thanks again to Nord for their support of Post.
Dare I say it is a Yumiko Hara deal.
Few people will get that.
All right. Tune in to our Dream Slam 2 review.
That's like 2 plugs in one.
That's how we do it, Way. We stack. Adam Pearce is with Raquel Rodriguez, Chelsea Green, and Sonya Deville. Liv Morgan is injured. She is not cleared to compete, and they are postponing the tag title match. Deville says that they should forfeit the tag titles. Pearce says, do you know how many tournaments we have going on in this company right now between NXT and this main roster? Raquel wants the match, and Chelsea Green says, you'll regret this. So we have a singles match, and yeah, we will see how long Liv is out. She was supposed to do an appearance today, and that she got swapped with Dolph Ziggler. And yeah, apparently this occurred on the show on Friday.
They showed a highlight, in fact, and I
Right.
don't have much reason to kind of doubt the actual point of the injury here. It kind of came. I couldn't tell certainly watching the match on Friday, and I'm guessing it came pretty much right at the finish. So, hopefully she recovers in time and it's not a serious injury, and that they could finish up whatever type of storytelling that this round of Shayna feud, I guess.
We had a series of sit-down interviews with Corey Graves and Seth Rollins that was broken up and aired throughout the show, and we go through. I mean, this was essentially Seth Rollins' career in about 5 minutes, cut into 2 parts. And we go through his NXT run and winning the championship in 2012, how important that title was to him, and beating Raw's own Jinder Mahal in the final 11 years ago.
He was an he was an NXT championship tournament finalist.
Yes. And then going to the main roster with the Shield, turning on them in 2014 and really emphasizing that it was Roman Reigns that he struck with the chair. More to come later on in the show.
Throughout the show, I thought there was some really great use of video, pre-produced video here in a way that I mean, I feel like it's always been a part of Raw, but tonight felt like aesthetically a lot more like NXT. We're talking like a production that feels a lot more high quality and not just like a guy with like a lit up wall backstage shot live in the afternoon, So I would assume, this is maybe part of Levesque's vision as well. But I really thought enjoyed the use of video elements tonight.
What about the disrespect towards the Greensboro Coliseum for Seth not to appear on the show in the arena?
Right. Well, clearly he was not a NWA fan.
No, not at all. Didn't care for Harley and Rick and anything that followed.
He did like Dusty though.
He was probably happy in '87 when they finally took it to Chicago.
Why?
Big FU to Greensboro. He's a big Bears fan.
Right.
It's true. Des Moines, Chicago. They're cousins essentially. Imperium came out, so Gunther was making his big arrival on Raw, and by that we got him in more backstage segments than I think the man's had in his year run.
It was a big push for Gunther,
Yeah.
and I do think the way that they are reintroducing a lot of guys, like on this show with Nakamura, with Gunther, with a lot of the NXT people, does give you justification for doing this brand split and for doing this draft, even though by the end, again, in 6 months time, 5 months time, it could really be nothing. At least for tonight, it gives you a reset, at least for these early months, it gives you a reason to reintroduce an audience, or to some people who might just watch Raw exclusively, an introduction to somebody like Gunther. It gives them an excuse to make a big deal out of these guys to a potentially new audience.
Well, with Gunther, they have no choice. They do need to position him highly, and I think that's what you took away from the show. He's going to be a prominent heel on the show. We will see if it is beyond the IC title level that you kind of feel he has to rise above at a certain
The way
point.
he's being pushed, I think it's inevitable. Yeah.
Yep. So Gunther is standing on the desk. Ludwig Kaiser does a great introduction for him, and Gunther states that he dominated SmackDown for over a year, will continue on Raw, and no one has earned a shot at him nor earned his respect. But tonight, this battle royal will determine it. And this was pretty much everyone that they could find placed into this battle royal. We have Ricochet, Bronson Reed, Apollo Crews, Matt Riddle, Mustafa Ali, Baron Corbin, Gable and Otis, the debuting JD McDonagh from NXT, Massey, Los Lotharios, Johnny Gargano, Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. We had Elias, Madcap Moss, Akira Tozawa, Viking Raiders, Dexter Lumis, Dolph Ziggler, and free agents Zion Quinn and Von Wagner.
I didn't realize they were part of the free agent camp.
Yeah.
I totally forgot Zion Quinn was one of the quote unquote drafted ones, drafted to free agency at least.
So I mean, does this mean they signed him, or was this just he was testing the waters of Raw?
Well, I don't think he did that well, so I don't know if they gave you any reason to sign him.
Well, these guys made a huge impact as free agents here. So I mean, we just had multiple eliminations here. The key ones being that Ziggler eliminates JD McDonagh, and then Von Wagner eliminates Dolph Ziggler, and JD McDonagh attacks Ziggler, runs him into the steps, I wasn't crazy about McDonagh being introduced as just a faceless member of the Battle Royal.
Yep.
They did give him an angle. They gave him a feud, even at a Ziggler level. And more importantly, he got like a video package later. So I would say for where your expectations would be for JD McDonagh, I didn't think that this was a terrible introduction on Raw.
Yeah, the fact that he showed up without an entrance as just another guy did not give me a whole lot of hopes. But follow-up is a lot more important than just an introduction, as we will see with Apollo Crews. He got an entrance, but I would say McDonagh came out as maybe the guy with a more concrete role on this show. Yeah. And I think starting a first program with Dolph Ziggler is not a bad place to be for an undersized guy. You know, like he's getting a program on the lower card, sure, but it's against a guy who you can claim to be who is a former world champion. I don't say just claims, but he's also a recognized heavyweight, and I think that would go a long way to, you know, for a first win for McDonagh. You could do worse.
Bronson Reed played the big monster, sending Otis and Ivar over for a pop, and then everyone gangs up on Reed. And we had some great stuff with Ricochet, including leaping off the back of Ali onto Gargano with a shooting star press. Apollo Crews hit what was called a modified blockbuster to Reed, the modification being that he missed catching his head on the way down. Then Moss, his big spot was this running shoulder tackle where I thought he killed Riddle, and then runs at him and his back body dropped to the floor. This dude can run really fast.
Did he not have a football background? Is that not his thing?
Yes. He's a fast runner.
Yeah. Okay.
They should run with this. Yes. Kaiser and Vinci try to attack Riddle.
How would they possibly use that as a wrestling gimmick? A guy who runs really fast.
He just sprints to the ring every week.
How would that, I guess, like his offensive maneuver would be like going up to the ramp and then doing like a long running drop kick.
Chases, maybe he challenges guys to like the 200 meters outside.
He should just run the ropes like for like 5 minutes to really build speed.
Okay. Yeah. I'm all for it. Ricochet and Ali try to eliminate Reed. He's hanging on, but he's dazed. Ricochet's hitting a springboard dropkick. He still holds on. And then Reed grabs hold of Ricochet, puts him on his shoulders when Ali comes off with a missile dropkick and sends Reed and Ricochet to the floor. Ali wins in 12 minutes and 34 seconds and got a pyro celebration as he will take on Gunther at Night of Champions.
Yeah, this certainly came out of nowhere. You know, again, speaking about people's ranks, like I don't think you kind of you can be Akira Tozawa level, I suppose. You know, that would probably be really the basement. But Ali,
I wouldn't say Ali is that much higher than Akira Tozawa. He's above Tozawa, but not by leaps and bounds.
Yeah. So him getting any sort of victory here, I was certainly surprised. And getting any sort of notable match at a Night of Champions would be a surprise. I guess it makes you question why he would have been chosen. Maybe they're serious about refreshing him. Although, like, again, watching TV beforehand, you certainly wouldn't have gotten that sense. I do also wonder, he now becomes the second Muslim wrestler to have a significant match on the show next to Sami Zayn. And I don't know if there's anything to that or something. I'm just trying to, guess reasons why an Ali might have been chosen. This also seems to be a real shift in character because, yes, he's still doing the cocky sort of like overly positive, kind of obnoxious gimmick, but it's very much framed, at least this week, as a babyface because he's going up against a heel like Gunther. So it does, in a way, feel like a real 180 on Mustafa Ali. So I guess you have to continue to ask why.
Yeah, and I think it's a worthwhile question asking. Ali has been on these shows in the past, and I mean, this could.
He's also said that he's donated all of his earnings.
He has noted that each time, and this could be a request. This could be a strategic reasoning for it. I don't know, or he's the opponent for this month that they're going to throw at Gunther, because I don't see anyone believing he's going to win this match.
No, but we'll see if this results in a sustained push for Ali, this positive Ali character. I certainly think the match has a great sort of potential to be a match of the night. So it's what has Ali had a singles pay-per-view match like since the cruiserweight days?
I could not tell you.
Like, you really have to dig back, I think. So it really does feel like
during the Retribution days.
I certainly don't recall, but hey, chat room, correct me if I'm wrong. But this battle royal, I thought, set a lot in motion here. You know, you continued the build between Gunther and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens and Riddle. You set up potentially this Alpha Academy thing with the Maximo Male models or even the Viking Raiders. Continued strong showcase for Bronson and Reed, and you can maybe even turn that into a Ricochet feud since those two kind of caused each other to be eliminated. So I thought it was like an effective storytelling battle royal.
Becky Lynch comes out, big reaction for her, and she talks about how we all have struggles and you have to put on a face to become the person you want to be. Sometimes we need to ask for help, and she did ask for help from Lita and Trish Stratus. And Lita was great. Trish came back, she hadn't skipped a beat, and I let her get close to my family, and I didn't see it coming like all of you people must have seen from a mile away. She was going to turn on me. And Becky thanks Trish because she turned on a light in her that had been off for months. You called my daughter dumb, and now you've given everything in my head a face and a target to attack. And if you want it, you got it. And I will kick your head in at Night of Champions. She delivered this really, really well. The audience got into it, and it sets up the match. And we also got a bit of a tiny tease here as it cuts to Rhea Ripley watching this in the back as well, and sort of just planting a seed while not calling too much attention to it, which is more subtlety than often in WWE.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty explicit, but still, yeah, for WWE, sure, yeah. The fact that we're not gonna this is the problem.
We didn't get Kathy Kelly. We noticed you were watching Becky Lynch. What do you think about Becky Lynch? Do you think Becky Lynch is going to come for your championship?
Kevin, did you see what I saw? Is that Rhea Ripley? Yeah. I mean, when could you see this match taking place? Ripley versus Becky. SummerSlam?
Ripley and Becky Lynch. You would think that this Trish thing has been moved up because they are quickly going to the match, that you would think that SummerSlam would be a potential option.
Or are we talking Money in the Bank in the UK?
I guess it depends. Like it's a sold out show. It's going to be a super hot crowd. I can honestly see Becky and Trish extending beyond one pay-per-view.
I'm starting to think like they would want Becky in like a major title match for Money in the Bank.
She could be in Money in the Bank.
True, you're right. Actually, that would make sense. And then she wins the opportunity to face Rhea at SummerSlam. Yeah, I kind of like that too, actually. So strong promo from Becky here, and I think this program needed it. You know, you need a fired up personal response from Becky to show that she's motivated and that this is going to be a big fight. And I guess, you know, like this kind of fulfills your quota for like a big legend appearance at a Saudi show.
Are we going to get 4 Money in the Bank ladder matches?
No, they don't usually do that. Like they have 3 people from Raw, 3 people from SmackDown.
So the brands will be all intertwined for that show.
Yeah. It's like the Rumble. They've always done that.
Okay. So,
and then, although in the past, like before they had a women's and a men's, I believe they had Raw and SmackDown exclusive briefcases, didn't they?
Yeah, we'll see how it all works. They cut to Rhea, and Kathy Kelly asks her about Natalya getting involved last week, and Natalya walks in and says, Rhea says, "You didn't come to help Dana Brooke. You just came out so people could care about you again," and warns Natalya about ever interrupting her again. If so, I'll end your career. And I thought that this would lead to Natalya getting involved in something tonight with Rhea, but it never did. And I'm thinking they'll just throw this match together for Saudi Arabia or TV.
Yeah, I think so too.
Ali meets with Otis, Gable, and Maxine. He's about to call them losers, but he said enough with their negativity, and his luck changed when he started thinking positively. And walks up to Imperium. Gunther congratulates him and says it's a shame you'll travel halfway across the world to suffer the worst loss and beating of your career. And Ali says he's going to beat and humiliate Gunther, which he will not, but that's our build.
I hope he at least gets a near fall. Like
more than Zelina Vega got in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I do hope he gets more than Zelina. Like on paper,
I could see him getting less than Zelina Vega in this match.
Can you see this being like a 7-second squash?
I could.
I guess it's
I thought they'd give you a real match with Brock and Ricochet, and look what that turned into.
Yeah,
in Saudi Arabia.
True, so. And they're probably in a mood of really wanting to establish Gunther as like completely dominant. So maybe.
Xavier Woods against Dominik Mysterio. Dominik and Ripley come out, and Dominik cuts another promo getting booed from everyone. And Woods says he doesn't have anyone watching his back, but at least I can fight my own battles, unlike you. And you have to get Rhea to give you permission to speak. And Graves notes that Dominik looks like El Chapo, makes El Chapo look like the Hamburglar. Dominik is attacking with stomps. The crowd is chanting for mommy, and he does the Eddie spots with the Three Amigos, goes for the frog splash, but is cradled for a 2 count, and then a gutbuster is hit by Woods. And as Woods comes off the top, Dom is pulled away by Ripley, and then this distracts Woods, who gets hit with a baseball slide dropkick. Ripley nails Woods and allows Dominik to cover him in 11 minutes, 3 seconds.
A decent match, yeah. I thought this would just kind of exist in a vacuum as a one-off, but it actually seems to be leading to something for Woods and Dominik in a sustained program.
Yeah, it's a program for these two.
Well, do you think it could, like, do we know what Kofi, his timeline might be for recovery?
I mean, it was an ankle injury, so I mean, you wouldn't think it would be too long of an issue, but obviously, like, it's been 2 months now that he's been gone.
Yeah, so I guess I'm just wondering, would this potentially set up a Kofi return?
Yeah, you have the partners to do it with. Yeah, at this point, a New Day reunion tag program, you can always do it. It's just it's sort of a lateral move at this point for them. I wanted to see them do maybe a little more with Woods here, and maybe they will get into that, giving him some more promo time, something more than just here's the third member of the New Day that is fighting on his own. Like, that's essentially the parameters of the character at the moment. JD McDonagh feature. So they've sort of taken away the kind of like crazy orthopedic surgeon JD McDonagh, who knows
like
all
American, like Christian Bale, American Psycho.
Yeah, maybe. Which I don't know. For me, it didn't like, he could perform the promos okay in NXT, but it was a little goofy for me. They've kind of taken away that aspect of it. And he says that he believed if you worked hard and waited your time, you would get your chance. But he saw others get opportunities ahead of him and then realized, I'm performing for an audience of fools. He is the destructor and digs the graves. And the Irish Ace is here to stay. Which was kind of funny. The Irish Ace is here to stay, and we cut to the Irish Ace walking out of the arena.
Well, what did you expect? Like, he would have stayed in Greensboro for weeks?
I don't know, till the end of the show, maybe. And Kathy Kelly catches up to him and says, Irish Ace, please stay. And he came to Raw to make a statement. And who better to do that with than Dolph Ziggler? And I laughed, and then he tried to do his best argument, listing off all the titles that he's won and never bet against an ace.
Well, clearly, this was not his plan at the beginning of the night. The man did try to win this IC title battle royal, okay? And when that plan fails, you go to plan B, I suppose. And plan B would be Dolph.
That would be the second biggest statement you can make in one night.
His statement was this video, okay? This was by far the most like effective thing that they did for him tonight. They looked really good, really well produced. He sounded good, cutting the level of promo. I think scaling back on what they were working on in NXT is a very good move. And already they are teasing some interaction with Finn Balor, because they, speaking of subtlety on the show, John, they had Balor walk up into the background in shot just as they were cutting away from this interview segment. So could he be a fit for Judgment Day? Or are they simply going to tell the story of their history together?
Or was this teasing Kathy Kelly in the Judgment Day? I mean, that looks like the pairing right there. Look at this.
I believe they do have a romantic history.
Do they? Oh, okay. I don't keep up on these.
To my knowledge, yes.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Well, obviously the man's married now, so that's the past.
Indus Sher with Jinder Mahal took on LeVar Barbie and Drake Thompson. Corey Graves went out of his way to state he does not even know their names, so Kevin Patrick picked this up. And when Drake Thompson got tagged in, Graves just went off on this guy. He looks like the toughest guy on the swim team and said that he's in 2K create a wrestler mode. I mean, just destroyed this guy on commentary. And that was their role here, to get destroyed, which they were. And it ended with Sangha lifting up Drake Thompson for a leg drop by Veer off the turnbuckle in 1:51. And Jinder Mahal stating, this is their show and they run it.
So Veer has finally arrived to Raw after all this time.
Yeah, this was them appearing on Kid Street.
Is this the pose you do?
This is how they would always clap. They would clap above their heads for some reason because they were in the cars.
Gotcha.
This was a game show in Canada that Brandon from New Jersey got bootlegs of through NordVPN.
Yes, of course. Yes. Yeah, I mean, giving them a pretty, tried and true build with these two giants. I mean, Veer.
They're doing the exact same thing they did with Veer a year ago with a partner. And the same thing that they did with these guys in NXT. Like, it's just wash, rinse, and repeat with these guys. They're just going to be the monsters until we either get tired of them or they progress and get a title shot.
I certainly hope that they do better than the Viking Raiders, the last team that they've kind of given this level of push. And, maybe that's a future program.
Owens and Zayn are backstage with Imperium, and Gunther says he will not tolerate the disrespect that they showed last week. Owens gets in their face. He wants to face all three of them next week. Zayn says, we'll find a partner. So it will be a 6-man tag on Raw next week. Probably in the main event, probably for the last half hour.
I don't know why you wouldn't just announce Riddle. Could they swerve us? Could it be Ali? Ricochet?
It could be. I mean, Ali has a role on the show. As of right now, Matt Riddle does not have a role on the card. So maybe they do put Ali in there. And Ali could pin Kaiser. Actually, it would help him. Like, he could pin Kaiser or Vinci. Go at least give the guy a win going into Night of Champions.
I suppose, but they set up like all this stuff with Riddle and Imperium as well.
Maybe Riddle should have won the Battle Royal then. It's almost like Ali's in the role now. So, I mean, you got to push the match you're promoting. Cody Rhodes starts the third hour here in the historic Greensboro Coliseum, which he calls a great memory when he was -2. And it's a sign of respect, which Brock Lesnar isn't showing by not being here. That prick. Then he tells us the story of the Scorpion and the Frog. I am going to venture to guess that Cody Rhodes didn't arrive with, hey guys, I got a great idea tonight. The Scorpion and the Frog. I feel this was one where, Cody, we want you to tell the Scorpion and the Frog.
I don't know. Cody, I feel gets, and I think I know, like, gets a lot of leeway for his promos. And was it like, I'm trying to rack my brain. Was there like another wrestling like instance of somebody bringing up this?
This was brought up, I think, in AEW recently. Not recently, but in the last like year or so.
Okay.
It's definitely been used.
Hey, maybe that's it.
So everyone knows the moral of the story, Brock is the Scorpion.
Yes.
Which I thought Shiv was.
There are many scorpions.
And it's his nature to hunt. But while you're hunting, how's your face? And the crowd oohs. And he says he busted Lesnar's face. Perhaps he broke his spirit. Cody accepts the challenge for Night of Champions and says he's not going to go down the path that many have with Lesnar, stating the reason he's on top and has been for so long is because he's better than 99.9% of the stars that enter this ring. But at Backlash, you were not better than me. Says people call it Brock called it a cheap win. It was a wrestling counter to a wrestling move inside of a wrestling ring. And asks, the real reason that Brock is upset with him is because who is the big thing on Monday Night Raw? The crowd chants Cody. He says Brock used to be the next big thing, but eventually what happens when they just say next? And he needs Lesnar to step aside because he is not the big thing anymore. You're just in my way.
Mm-hmm. What a hell of a promo here from Cody. It felt like a main event face of your promotion type of promo, a promotion befitting of a guy who probably should have won a WrestleMania main event. Brock's promo was really just kind of like a lot of screaming and a lot of anger. And because it's Brock Lesnar, because he is a beast, because he's a hunter, like it makes perfect sense. But I like the fact that Cody comes in here and responds in a far more cerebral way, providing a bit of psychology actually into this feud to make it feel a bit more well-rounded. I love that he did draw a connection to his father's past as is sort of like the character, with his history in Greensboro. And I like the way that they turned the next big thing phrase into something that you could use against Brock Lesnar, targeting what maybe a rare insecurity within Brock Lesnar. I mean, do you think Brock John worries about getting old? Do you think he looks at his face and looks at all the wrinkles and thinks, should I moisturize more often? that's what he was targeting here. And even if Brock like is not the type to care about that stuff,
do you
I like
realize
Cody
that
went there.
if this guy could have cut promos, that Cain Velasquez would have had the greatest promo ever about how Brock has to wake up every morning and look into the mirror and you see me?
Of course, yeah. Well, I mean, Cody's doing that right now.
Yeah, Cody cut the promo that Cain Velasquez, I mean,
Yeah.
would have been very well served if he could have number.
Yeah, I love that Cody found a way to not attack Brock physically alone. He found a way to attack him psychologically, which I thought was well done.
So what will his tie-in be next week in Hershey, Pennsylvania?
You might give Brock a kiss.
That is what Brock is going to show respect for. Hershey, Pennsylvania instead of Greensboro. Zoe Stark is with Nikki Cross and calls her a freak. And Candice LeRae steps in and said, my whole purpose for being here tonight is to defend Nikki Cross from being called a freak. And then Zoe Stark says, where's your family? Candice says, don't bring my family into this. So this is our setup for a match next week. I guess Zoe Stark crossed the line.
I guess they didn't have really more than 30 seconds to devote to this program.
Yeah, because we needed a full 30 minutes for the main event. We couldn't let this breathe for a minute more. Not that I was clamoring for more, but I mean, this was, it was like, okay, start a feud from scratch, and you've got about 30 seconds to destroy one another verbally.
It was about as bare bones. Oh, you argued with me. You stepped in my shot. Let's have a match. You know,
she didn't even insult. It's like, where's your family? Don't bring my family into this.
Let's have a match. You know, that's it. Yeah. I thought that they were completely dropping this Nikki Candice association because I don't think they'd kind of picked up on it in weeks. So this at least tells you it's still a thing. Maybe Nikki joins the way. These factions are getting pretty full, I would say, all of them. You know.
They are plentiful. Yeah. Raquel Rodriguez and Chelsea Green. So Graves notes that Chelsea had her sights set on winning a championship tonight, unlike the Canadian hockey teams. Because, yes, it wasn't just Toronto, but also Edmonton that let down the country over the weekend. So early on, there's a running boot by Raquel, and then DeVille gets on the apron, and this sets up a backstabber by Chelsea Green. But then, after Green is attacking the knee, Raquel hits an inverted Alabama slam and starts hitting her. Clothesline, clothesline, clothesline. 1 fall-away slam, 2 fall-away slams, 3 fall-away slams. Twisting elbow off the turnbuckle, lifts her up, Tejana bomb, and destroys her in 3:44. And my note was, this is a very unique way to build up a tag title match that's being postponed. But then the post-match saw Rodriguez jumped by the returning Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, who stated they will continue to beat her up until she defends the titles with or without Liv Morgan, which maybe is a sign of whether they're unsure if Liv is going to be able to do this match. But it also tells me that this postponed match with Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville, maybe we're just going to forget about it entirely and we're just moving on. And that was your conclusion to it tonight.
And I think we're all fine with that, you know, and I think Chelsea and Sonya should be fine with that as well. It gives them something to complain about and more fuel for whatever story that they want to tell to complain about. So
it is a good bit for them to, like, Raquel bypasses them, loses the tag titles, and then you can certainly, like, Chelsea and Sonya can just do whatever character work you can come up with them for.
Oh, and you can understand why they get so much screen time is because they're like very easy to write for devices, you know, that you can use to kind of promote your baby faces. And yeah, they're very effective for that reason. And I think Sonya is a great character. Her in-ring, I've really not been impressed thus far. But again, she does good enough to be, and her acting is strong enough, or at least as this character is strong, it's strong enough that it justifies the role. I thought this was like a good surprise return for Ronda and Shayna. You know, she's been so like low key that I almost forgot that she was drafted as part of this whole thing. I really hope that
Can you imagine that pairing together, Ronda Rousey and low key.
Be quite the yeah. I couldn't envision them being friends. Maybe, yeah. Ronda, I really hope Ronda has been like working on her promos like in this time off. You know, I thought she sounded fine tonight, but man, she's going to like, this is to me what completely derailed her last heel run on SmackDown. It's just like,
and I know maybe some promos she could be studying. Raquel,
Loki.
I think you've been looking at my hair. Imperium are in
How
the
many
back.
people at this point remember that the Loki video?
None, probably none, because that video got like nabbed pretty early on, and I do not think it exists, but it's still one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah, I don't even think that many people saw it.
No, I don't think so.
So for people who don't remember, it was like,
wait, I don't do these shows with the idea anyone is listening. So it's just for you that I'm trying to
like, I'm talking like 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
It was more than 10 years ago. It was definitely more than 10.
Somebody did this low-key impression video that just killed like
died. It was just so good. It was amazing. Like it was enough that it was so obvious. Like it's not him, but it is so
it was a great impression.
Point. It was great. Yeah. It was really great. It was the high point of Loki of the past decade. Imperium is seen shaking hands with Paul Heyman, and he's got his visitor's pass on his phone, which would be a bitch to take that sticker off of your phone. Like this was right on the phone.
Yeah, I think that stuff's meant for fabric, you know?
Yeah. Anyway, part 2 of Corey Graves' interview with Seth Rollins about taking risks by leaving the Shield, which many people saw as a risk. When people were kind of at that point in time, it's not as though Rollins was considered just this guy that, they're all going to be great. It was Rollins was the question mark I think most had, and ended up being, up until a few years ago, you could say he was, I think, pretty clearly the strongest of the three when Ambrose was still in the company and Reigns was, at that point of his career. But the current iteration of himself is the best. His hands are off the wheel, as he says, and he just gets to enjoy it. And they're showing the footage of the fans singing, calling it an organic relationship. He is not forcing the change. The fans are. And he says, when asked why now for a new world title, he says, we need change again. He doesn't feel anyone at the top wants to take any risks. They want to protect themselves rather than take risks. So now you can do it. You can do things the way they're supposed to be done with this new world title. And then he has asked his thoughts on Roman Reigns. And he takes his glasses off and he says, next week. And it's going to ruffle some feathers. Corey promises. So what a hook for next week. What's he going to say about Roman?
Seth Rollins shoots.
They're going to come back. He's going to say, no comment. Move on.
The videos were really good. I think it's a different way to promote a guy's campaign for a title run, but I think for that reason, it captures your attention. It adds depth of motivation to the character and saves them from a week of travel. So what is all about, so bad about doing this sort of interview? I hope to see the same with AJ on SmackDown.
Yeah. We'll see. And they're taping both weeks on Friday as well. So maybe you can bank some interviews for that. I thought these were good tonight. Yeah. What you have, I want them to kind of narrow in on AJ next week as well, kind of build this up. They do need to do, I think, a more significant job with AJ, because I think he is sort of viewed as sort of the placeholder for Seth's win. And
agreed. Yeah.
I would want to push this as more than, it's going to be a good match.
I hope he explains how he intends on leaving SmackDown to go to Raw if he wins the championship.
I would love that explanation. Maybe we'll get Twitch AJ. He's back in his room and those are his best interviews, okay? When he was just taking questions from people and just brutally honest.
And his son comes in asking, Dad, aren't you drafted to SmackDown? Why do you want to win this?
Oh, hell, I don't understand.
That just comes with all the logic.
This is like TNA. This bullshit. Next week in the burgeoning metropolis, Hershey, Pennsylvania, they will get a contract signing between Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus. Owens and Zayn with Mystery Man take on Imperium, and Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes under the same roof. Which roof will it be? Will it be the Hershey Center? Will it be, or the Giant Center, whatever it's called? Will they be camping? Will they go to one of their houses? Will Brock invite him to the ranch? They didn't say what roof. They'd just be under the same roof next week.
Tune in to find out.
Apollo Crews, man, one thing you can say, they have not lacked ideas for the man, whether it be Nigerian roots, complete with a spear, whether it's seeing into the future, or this one, a man who runs and now wears tights instead of trunks.
I would say that they're probably going a bit more minimalist with their push of Apollo Crews this time. This seems like it's a very non-gimmick, just kind of serious. Hey, I have kids. I'm trying to be a great role model for them type of push. Great drone, like fancy drone shots, guy running. Athletic.
Who's your favorite model employee gimmick in history? Who are the best characters that were model employees that were his gimmick was good parent? Does that really translate that well?
I guess Hulk Hogan never really kind of celebrated his parenting skills. Trying to think. Neither did like any babyface, really. Come to think of it, I don't know if there are too many wrestlers. I mean, Titus O'Neil, really, probably. Didn't he win an award for being best father?
He did. I wouldn't say that catapulted him to the top.
No. Can you be a great wrestler, like a main event player, and be a great father at the same time?
I think you can be a great father. I think this industry, I think a lot tougher to be a great husband, probably.
Roman Reigns did that, like, dad video once.
Yeah, that was nice. But I don't think he's playing the character of a dad. So anyway,
well, that's not his own character. This is just a one line of motivation.
Okay, he's a former champion. He's earned his way back, and someone his kids can be proud of. This is his time. And as we learned in NXT, his kids could not be proud of his last character. He said they wouldn't watch. They stopped watching the main roster when he became this character that now is being outlined in a lawsuit.
Right. Yeah, I think the less said about that for them, probably the better. I don't think they want to remind people of that. I think
you don't think so?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think you're going to get a return to
what Commander was the other Aziz.
Yeah. What was the other offensive thing that was brought up? Mansoor. Yeah, I don't think
there were a lot of them in there.
I think this video would have been great on its own. Like, I don't think Crews needed to be in that battle royal and just kind of get taken out, tonight.
It was a little backwards with several of them where you got the video package after. Same with JD McDonagh, although McDonagh did have the Ziggler thing. Both of these I think could have aired before the battle royal.
Yeah. Wouldn't have hurt. It doesn't matter, honestly.
It doesn't for Apollo. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn against Finn Balor and Damian Priest. Dominik and Ripley came out for the first commercial break. They would later be ejected to a big pop when they were getting involved. And then as Dominik is on the way to the back, Xavier Woods comes out attacking Dominik. So they will continue that. Then Paul Heyman walks out. We go to a second commercial break. And as they come back, Owens hits a swan dive, but can't go for the cover. Zayn returns to the apron, and Zayn and Balor are tagged. And Balor gets hit with a Michinoku driver. We see Heyman speaking on speakerphone, and then Imperium appear ringside. Were there more people that they could have get involved in this match if they tried? We had Ripley, Dominik, Heyman, Imperium.
There are a lot of moving pieces in this story.
Obviously.
I don't think it's a bad thing, as I'll explain. Let's go on.
Okay, I was trying to keep track of all of this. There's a stunner to Priest. Zayn hits an exploder in the corner, hits the haluva kick, but Imperium distract the ref. So Owens goes after them, shoves Gunther, and then Priest chokeslams Owens on the apron. So he's done. Zayn hits a tope con hero onto Priest, and then Gunther stops the haluva kick, allowing for Balor to hit the shotgun drop kick, coup de grace, and Balor pins Sami Zayn in 21 minutes. Paul Heyman smiles on the phone, and yes, Balor and Priest pin your tag champions that either can set up a future match or does not, and it's direction.
Probably likely that it sets up a future match. I mean, it would be pretty awful.
I could absolutely see Roman and Solo Sikoa winning these tag titles. That would not stun me.
I mean, of course, it's Roman Reigns. After WrestleMania, I think you never really count a Roman victory out on pay-per-view, especially, but it seems like pretty, again, I shouldn't even say it at this point.
For the story purpose, I think Solo losing is more interesting. That here is like Solo now is in the bad books of Roman, and Roman is, as we get further and further, I felt this the night of, and now that we are 6-7 weeks removed from WrestleMania, you have to do a hell of a job to convince me that Cody not winning that title on that night was the better idea. This story is so much better if Roman has lost the title and he's just going mad now, and he's pushing away the only people he has left, his family. I think there's so much more. Cody is on fire as this new champion. It's fresh. You've got this engaging feud with Brock that is for the belt, and Roman's got his own thing. Like, there is a great story here that the title to me means so little. And you could also have split these titles in a more clean fashion than what they have done here. But I digress.
That is a digression we could probably spend a whole lot of time on, and maybe it'll come up at this point, maybe at end of the year show. So maybe it might even come up next year if they don't pay it off next year. But getting back to tonight's Raw, I thought there were a lot of bodies involved in this main event, but I thought it was like a pretty effective juggling of all the pieces here to make Owens and Zayn feel like a focal point of the show again. You know, Owens and Zayn, even though they were a part of this Usos match at Backlash, I really feel like since WrestleMania,
programmed with it, they did a very good job with Imperium on this show.
Three, John. Like, Judgment Day are after them. They've set up a tag title match. Okay, you have Imperium after them, and you have Roman and Solo after them. Now everybody wants to take out Owens and Zayn, and I think that in effect has made Owens and Zayn again feel like they're an important part of the show, which they haven't felt since WrestleMania, in my opinion.
And the maximum male models are waiting.
Well, they're just waiting, for the right opportunity.
Once I start to think positively, I would say it was a very good main event. Like, it was lengthy, but good work between them. And I think that I would say for the show, you had some very good promos from Cody Rhodes, from Becky Lynch, the Seth Rollins sit down. I like the fact that they did that as opposed to just throwing him on the show in sort of a roundabout way. They came up with something different for him. I liked what they did with Imperium, and those to me were the strength. Like, you did build up several of these matches for Night of Champions in a pretty effective way.
I thought it was a strong, like, storytelling, like, reintroduction type of show that you would expect from like a season premiere type of, episode. I think they're doing a good job with Gunther, doing a good job with Nakamura. They, at least introduced us and gave us a first program for JD McDonagh, told us who, Apollo Crews, at least a little bit more of who he is. And I think they effectively are building, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn as, again, another focal point here. They're putting a lot of pieces at play, somehow being able to tell a SmackDown storyline, even on a Raw, with a Paul Heyman visitor pass. We can scoff at maybe like the concept of this brand split, but I do think it is overall, from a big picture, being used effectively to, introduce a lot of people.
Well, we will see where the end result is, visitor passes aside. But that was Monday's episode of Raw in the books, with SmackDown Friday. And then next week, they have Hershey, taped SmackDown, and then they are into what will be one of the busiest weekends in recent memory, as we have got a WWE Night of Champions on the Saturday. Then we have NXT Battleground and Double or Nothing head-to-head. There's an Impact show in there as well. The Best of the Super Juniors finals are that same day as Double or Nothing and Battleground.
Jeez, wow, a lot. And we'll be here to cover most of it.
I mean, let's get our realistic outcome for that weekend. But this week we have you covered on the Post Wrestling Cafe. This coming week, we have got Rewind Away with Karen Peterson joining us, as we will be reviewing Dream Slam 2, which was headlined by a match that received the Match of the Year award from the Wrestling Observer newsletter. We will be going through the majority of that card. It's a 5+ hour show. I watched the second half of it, so we will be going through the results.
Matches.
Top 6 matches. Yes. So that is all going to be coming up on Thursday with Karen Peterson sitting in with us. Friday night, we have Rewind to SmackDown for Cafe members. And Sunday, Karen Peterson and Bruce Lord will be reviewing New Japan's Resurgence show from Long Beach, California, featuring Will Ospreay against Hiroshi Tanahashi. John Moxley is on the show. Probably a lot of angles to set up Dominion, and probably even some maybe hinting towards Forbidden Door as they start to get closer to that show as well. So all those bonus shows this week, postwrestlingcafe.com, $6 gets you all of our extra bonus shows, all of the archives, and plenty more at the cafe. But also this week, what else, Way? The NWA podcast coming your way.
Yeah. Feedback is also coming up.
I totally forgot about feedback.
Later.
I'm so tired at this hour,
It's
folks.
all right, John. We have, of course, your chance to get in on the conversation. You don't have to wait till this weekend, okay? This is a part of the show that we value very much, and you can have your say right now, especially those of you tuning in live at youtube.com/postwrestling and are kind enough to want to support the channel by sending us a super chat. Let's go first all here too. Hansi, busted open's biggest fan, Hansi, sends $2.79 to ask, have you guys ever had La Croix in your eyes after wasabi? LaCroix?
No.
La Croix?
La Croix. It's got a hint of lemon.
Yeah. If given the option, I'd be more afraid of the fizz, like the bubbles. I think it's seltzer. Is it seltzery? I don't know if I've ever had LaCroix.
I've gotten Gatorade in my eyes before. That's not fun.
Really?
But probably not as bad as this or
wasabi.
Wasabi, yeah.
In the eyes?
Did you think he was just playing that up, like the wasabi stuff, to get out of making the call?
That's a very interesting.
That was my
idea.
immediate thought. Like, it was so ridiculous that I thought this guy was like literally just trying to get out of this impossible situation where he was watching his journalistic credibility melt to the floor in front of him, and this was his way out of it.
I never thought about that. I think that could make a lot of sense. Absolutely. But then he did have to suffer the LaCroix in his eyes to really kind of sell it, though.
Well, that was just the add-on from Greg that just...
Didn't he ask to explain it on air?
He did. He wanted to explain it, but then when they had the thing pending call, there was no pending. They just called it. It was like there was no like asterisk. There was no cautionary.
Well, he wanted to protect his credibility. At least you got the sense he wanted to. But then what? Why would he just throw in the towel and just give up and let the others take full control?
I think he got overwhelmed by the moment because he kind of just, put his tail between his legs by the end of that and went from, the guy standing up for the newsroom to just understanding this power imbalance, and he's just going along for the ride.
And for people who aren't really aware, we're talking about the Vanderpump Rules. Great episode last week.
Oh, I thought we were talking about Watch What Happens Next. Have you ever watched Vanderpump Rules?
Never. No.
I've only read about it. It looks so dumb.
What is it? What's it about?
I only read like a recap of it, and I can't even put it into words.
You can't judge the show for being bad without actually watching it.
You know what? I went down a rabbit hole and clicked on by my mistake. I really hate how you click on one video and then your algorithm just goes to shit for a week.
Oh, and that's going to get way worse. Like I know. It'll know
awful.
What you will like a year from now.
I know.
Yeah.
I clicked on Jersey Shore reunion. Dude, it's the same people. They're back.
Of course.
And they're old.
You think they have
now.
Other generations? Well, yeah, of course. We can't let go of shit. You kidding me? We'll be following that group until like they're 90.
I don't know what stone has been left unturned from that group of friends at this point in time.
People like warm, fuzzy feelings, okay? You cover professional wrestling. Shit. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin just wrestled last year. Everybody wanted Dwayne Johnson coming back this year. Are you kidding me?
There's turnover. There's new people.
Yeah, fine.
Imagine we were covering this with the same 6 people week after week, year after year.
Yeah, but listen, there's money to be made, okay? And nostalgia. And these people are what, parents now, I'm assuming? They might be grandparents now, even.
I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Okay, thank you, Hansi, for the super chat. Anime Fan sends 44 shekels. So I think we could. I think that's basically $1 million. So thank you very much, Anime Fan. He says, "Do you guys feel Cody ends the story with the World Heavyweight Championship?" I do not. I mean, obviously, like he is not a part of this title match coming up at Night of Champions, and he will certainly, I think, within the year contest Seth Rollins again for it. But maybe, you know what, his path might actually be Gunther. Like I could see Gunther winning it from Rollins, and then maybe Cody challenging Gunther. But
what if he challenges Seth and says, "If I don't win, I will never challenge for the title ever again"?
Well, there's so many championships. Like he could actually do that in the WWE and get away with that. You know, I will never challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship, but I could still challenge for the World Championship, the undisputed, the Universal Championship, the Women's Championships. So,
I think it's going to be a tough dance to keep him without putting that title on him over the next year.
I think the story is still going at this point. Like, if Roman's not defending on this 1000th day, can you see Roman Reigns dropping this championship before next year's WrestleMania?
It's possible. Yeah, you could do it. I would definitely question why you didn't do it at the most opportune time. Like, what makes Survivor Series or SummerSlam or Saudi Arabia a more advantageous day?
I'm saying I don't think they're more advantageous days. I don't think you find another possibly as perfect of a moment as this year's WrestleMania until next year's WrestleMania.
Yeah, like that's what I think you would lean towards.
And who are your candidates right now if you're going to drag this Roman Reigns championship reign all the way till next year's WrestleMania?
Cody and Seth.
I would say Cody even more than Seth, but who knows what'll happen over the next year. And
I mean, they're already making like your hints towards, Seth and Roman.
True. Yeah.
That I could certainly see that direction.
I don't know what they're thinking right now, but the only justification I can see with them not crowning Cody this year is that they would want to delay the moment until next year. Do the Naito thing.
Well, we'll see. I don't even know if delaying it is like a great option, to be quite honest. Like, what I don't know what are you passing up this year that next year brings you?
A bigger story, bigger moment,
Right,
another gate.
Continue the story forever. Yeah, I'm also getting tired of the finish the story tagline. It's just one of those. It just said too much.
All right, let's go to Matt Hahn, who sends $5. Thank you, Matt, for the support. He says, "Do you think Gunther is going to break Honky Tonk's IC title reign?"
Sure.
Which stands at what?
I have no idea. It's long.
And IC title length. I'm just curious. 454 days. I think
he's at like a year. So he's still got some time.
Do
people really care? Like when he beats this, like, is this going to really?
They cared with Bianca just now. They made a story out of it. They didn't with Roman for some reason. But...
I'm saying the average fan. Does this matter at all? He's going to pass it. Do you see Gunther celebrating on television, like beating the Honky Tonk Man's record? Do you see them making a story out of it?
Yeah, I actually do. I mean, I think it's, again, this is part of the criticism of why I don't know why they aren't using Roman Reigns' 1000th day more effectively. I think it provides a wonderful storytelling device, and certainly with Gunther. So, by the way, according to Wikipedia, he's already number 3. Okay, and he's currently at 340 days. So it's only 100 and
so he's already the longest reigning of the modern era.
That is correct.
They never mentioned that.
Well,
who was the longest after 2005? Can you scroll down? I mean, who did he beat for the modern era record? Because that is post 05. Shelton Benjamin.
Oh, that was 2004. So not modern. Cody, actually. 236.
They blew it. They had such a grand opportunity.
Well, what is should we do the whole math? Like what's 114 days from now? 114 days from now. This is going to be the longest Rewind to Raw in history. September 7th, 2023. It's a Thursday.
Okay. It's a Thursday. Okay, so they'll do a return of Thursday Raw Thursday, where Wayne Ferris is going to come back. He's going to challenge Gunther. If we ever got Gunther and Wayne Ferris for 2 minutes on Raw, it would make this whole title reign worth it. I would eat my words here and say this was definitely worth it.
I think he should join Imperium. Honky.
I'm never going to turn down
I think he should play. Honky Tonk Man should play the Imperium, the Gunther theme, the Walter theme,
and then they come down in a Cadillac at next year's WrestleMania together.
Perfect. Book it right now.
Rhythm and Bruise.
I think because they love like these sort of like record things, and because it's relatively close, I think I could see Gunther holding it until September. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Okay. Is that all?
That's it. Let's go to forum.postwrestling.com where we have one piece of feedback here from Muggin, who says the newer faces on Raw made it feel fresher. The vignettes did a good job of getting the casual viewer up to speed on who they are. The background shot of Balor during Mick "Don't Google Me's" skit is a sign that Judgment Day might go from 4 to 5. The Battle Royal was solid as it gave Mustafa Ali a nice boost to face Gunther in Jeddah. I hope it isn't a squash. Reigns casting a dark cloud over Owens and Zayn getting attacked on all fronts by Judgment Day and Imperium only amplifies the drama heading into Jeddah. And yes. Yeah. Do you think much will be made of JD McDonagh, Jordan Devlin, and everything that went on during Speaking Out?
My impression is probably not.
Same here. It seems very similar to the Riddle situation to me, in that like, because there hasn't really been any sort of I'm not even completely up to date on all the new information that's out there. So, but clearly it's at a place where WWE has been very comfortable putting him on TV for the past year plus, and comfortable enough to bring him up on the main roster. But because there's always going to be that sort of inconclusiveness, it's still going to kind of linger, you know, especially like upon a person's re-debut.
Yeah, I think if they are comfortable with them, they are going to move forward. And I don't think it's going to impact them in terms of their thinking. And I think they believe with the audience that it's a relatively small number that are going to raise those, and they are willing to absorb that criticism that they will get from some people. But I think they're just thinking as we are just going to move full steam ahead, and people will move on or not think about it, or just not vocalize it in such a way that it's going to impact our plans for somebody.
Right.
That is going to bring an end to Rewind to Raw. So thank you to everybody for joining us. We have the whole schedule up at postwrestling.com if you want to check out our shows. Lots of big stuff coming this week. Wednesday, we will be live immediately after Dynamite and probably chatting a lot about the big announcement that they will be making on Wednesday. Announcement or announcements. We will be discussing all of it. So have a great week, and we will speak to you on